What's going on, preppers? Hope you guys are doing very well today. We're seeing lots of change, and the most successful preppers will accept change and force themselves to evolve before change forces you to evolve. And we're going to talk a little bit about Lake Mead today, just because I was observing some chatter about homeowners in California complaining about not being able to water their grass. Are you kidding me? So Lake Mead, Lake Powell, if you haven't caught my previous videos or other prepper channels like, Kevin SHTF, Kevin Prepper, Canadian Prepper, a lot of the other prepper channels are covering this material. Lake Mead, Lake Powell, these drought situations are quite dire, and it goes way beyond your grass not necessarily being as green as it could possibly be as a result of you not being able to water your grass because we have a drought. It's a little bit more than just a cosmetic issue. And I get it, some of the homeowners are a little bit pissed off that they're not able to keep their grass as green as possible, because if you're a homeowner who's trying to sell their house, obviously if your lawn doesn't look that great, it's going to affect your curb appeal, property value. The housing market doesn't need any more stress to make it more difficult to get your house sold in this particular time, especially with rising interest rates. And if your grass is turning brown, maybe your homeowners association sending you letters. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, if the local government's telling you can't water your grass, well, the local government's going to have to supersede whatever the homeowners association's got to say. So there's that. There's also the hydroelectric power risk, or power outage risk, I should say, as a result of not being able to have access to water. Lake Mead, I forget if it's Lake Mead or Lake Powell, sitting at roughly 27% of capacity, and we're not very far away from that dead pool where there's not enough water to flow downstream, number one, but number two, there'd be no power, and this is going to affect up to 7 states. That's what they're saying. Me personally, I think that there's always going to be more fallout than what's anticipated, and I think it's going to be a lot more than 7 states if we drop below a particular level. So more on that later. This is an evolving situation, but let's talk a little bit about the housing market. Now, it's getting bad out here for certain areas, and I just want to say specifically for certain areas. It's not everywhere. What I've seen right now is that a lot of buyers, a lot of home buyers, they're getting priced out of the market. They're getting priced out of the market because home prices have not fallen. And I didn't say yet on purpose because I don't know if they're going to fall. But the Fed is raising interest rates to offset inflation with the intent to lower prices. They're saying that home appreciation, real estate appreciation, is accelerating at a rate that's too fast. It's pricing a lot of buyers out of the market. Biden administration wants to put forth this effort to improve housing affordability. There's a number of different initiatives that are at play right now. Of course, if you can't keep your grass clean or grass green, that's going to affect your ability to sell your house to some extent. But more importantly, if you don't have power where your house is located, that's going to affect real estate values more than your grass not being as green as it could possibly be. I'm just saying. But anyway, home builders are essentially boosting incentives as they suddenly struggle to sell homes. And we're hearing from big time home builders like Pulte Homes. We're hearing from home builders like Toll Brothers, Ryland Homes, KB Homes. A lot of these home builders are starting to feel a little bit of pain. And welcome to the party. A lot of people have been feeling pain. A lot of people are still feeling pain right now. If you're a renter looking to rent in this market, it's not getting any cheaper. And I hate to break it to you, but it's not going to get any cheaper anytime soon. In fact, I can't think of a historic period in time where rentals or the price that you would pay per month for rent has gone down. Real estate investors have continuously seen their investments cash flow year over year increase almost uninterrupted, creating one of the most lucrative passive income cash flows that I'm aware of outside of online businesses and, strictly owning a company, letting someone else manage it. That's almost like a, to some extent, a fully automated business, but, not a lot of businesses can be run that way, but they can ultimately. Now, sales of newly built homes, they've fallen more than 8% in June from the prior month and were 17% lower than June of 2021. Now, these are the sales. The sales have fallen, but the prices haven't fallen. So it's just the demand aspect that has been reduced, but the prices, they're not showing up with discounts yet. We're not seeing any housing market crash yet. All right, you got me. I said yet. Now, again, I don't know if we're going to see this housing market crash. We might see a couple points here and there, but then again, I've seen a number of different reports saying, well, homes are already showing, reduced prices across the nation. You'll see different reports that come up saying, okay, in this state, home prices were slashed by this percentage. Another state, real estate prices were slashed by another percentage. But no one's talking about the fact that some of these prices are not accurate. Like they're poorly priced to begin with. So if you see a price correction, it may not be a legitimate actual housing market crash or a legitimate correction. It may just be that, hey, these prices were overpriced to begin with. The listing agent may have been smoking something at the time. And I understand, going across the United States, more and more states are legalizing marijuana. So perhaps they were smoking something. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing is that the homes that are still selling and moving quickly, there's a lot of houses, there's a lot of real estate that's still moving quickly. Real estate agents are cashing big checks. And we're not talking about stimulus checks here. Real estate agents are cashing big checks and earning big commissions right now, today. But the houses that are moving are the more desirable properties. They're the more desirable homes in the more desirable locations that have been desirable for a number of different reasons. Now, a lot of people want more space so that they can plant, so that they can prep, so that they can harvest more food, so that they can stockpile more supplies and food for longer periods of time. And with remote work, more and more companies are allowing employees, regardless of what some of the publications are saying, more and more employees are working from home, and more employers are permitting it. In addition, more and more employees are starting little part-time businesses, these small part-time side hustles, allowing them to increase their incomes since wages aren't keeping up with the price of inflation. I mean, anybody who's been to the grocery store in the last 3 months knows that grocery prices are significantly more expensive today than they were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And if your employer is not going to give you a raise and prices aren't going down rapidly enough, you're either going to find yourself digging yourself deeper and deeper into higher interest credit card debt, or you're going to take some action on your own and increase your income. Increasing your income might be picking up additional skills or certifications in whatever field of trade you're in. If you're in the IT field, it's boatloads of different IT certifications available. If you're in any other field, I'm sure there are certifications available that will increase your value in the marketplace, and you can give yourself a raise whether your employer sees your value being increased or not. When you update your LinkedIn resume, employers will call you, and if your value has increased in the marketplace, you'll be getting more offers, so your raise will be in one form or another. In addition to that, more and more people are saying, hey, I don't necessarily want a raise, I want freedom. And freedom might mean I want to move away from the city where power outages may potentially be more prevalent. I want to move away from the city where, in case shit hits the fan, I don't want to be around, millions of people per capita. I'd rather be around thousands of people per capita or hundreds of people per capita. And a lot of people who live in the immediate cities, they don't own, they're renting. They're not building any wealth. And as we've seen in real estate over the last 2 years, homeowners have seen their wealth increase by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars quickly. And as a renter, you're missing out. Renters have missed out. Now, I'm not saying, renting is not good. There's strategies that you can employ, that you can put in place where renting makes sense. But I'm just saying, if you're renting, you can't, if you're renting and you don't hold real estate, you're not benefiting from the appreciation from it. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, times are changing and the housing market is absolutely changing. Inventories recently rose to a 9.5 month supply, up from the 5.5 months real estate supply from last year. So we can see that the sales slowing down is causing inventories to build up a little bit. Now, chief executives of major builders, they're saying that they have to actually respond more quickly to the sudden turnaround in the market, in part by boosting incentives. Now, we're going to see some changes. I actually saw mortgage rates actually head down just a little bit, down 0.5 point. But again, more desirable properties are still moving quickly. I saw a property just the other day. It was listed for $1.150 million, basically $1,150,000. It was listed. It was a house. It was listed for sale in a suburban area. And within 24 hours, the listing had been updated showing that it was pending, meaning that someone had already placed an offer on it. And the offer was accepted by the seller. So, properties are still moving. But again, it's the more desirable properties. It used to be, 8 months ago, 10 months ago, a year ago, you could have any old piece of property, any old house, single family residence thrown on the market. Someone's going to jump out there, offer above ask just to get it. It could need all sorts of work, being not so much of a desired area, and people will buy it. Today, times are changing, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, after about 2 years of not being able to build homes fast enough to be able to keep up with the demand, the nation's home builders are now experiencing this massive slowdown in sales and an increase in supply. And sales of newly built homes actually fell more than 8% from June, and the prior month were 17% lower than June of 2021. So again, times are changing. Chief executives, CEOs of these multi-billion-dollar companies, these multi-billion-dollar homeowners, or home builders, I should say, they're saying that they have to respond more quickly and start boosting incentives. Now, Pulte Group is another home builder, and in fact, they're one of the largest home builders, and they just reported this week that the net new orders from its homes in the second quarter were lower by 23%. So, you guys hear that loud car going by? Anyway, pretty sure the Biden administration's clean air campaign will probably start going after noise pollution soon. Anyway, so the company's cancellation rate, though, Pulte Homes, the company's cancellation rate was at 15% compared to 7% the past year. So what we're seeing, though, is we're seeing more and more potential buyers of these new homes backing out of contracts. And this is starting to scare these builders. This is starting to scare some of these CEOs of multi-billion-dollar real estate companies. I wonder how the Blackstone and BlackRock CEOs and C-level executives are feeling at the moment. But yeah, so basically the CEO said that they have to work harder to sell homes and they have to be more nimble. So, that can mean a number of different things. Businesses can restructure and approach the market differently. In fact, I'm actually shocked not to hear that some of these builders aren't actually just not selling the houses instead. Meaning, why not build houses? And I'm not saying like this is the best strategy, but it's a strategy. And I wonder why I'm not seeing more of this. If you're going to build these houses, a lot of these builders are using financing. I don't know if they have fixed rates on their financing, variable rates on their financing, but a lot of these builders, they could literally just not sell them and rent them out for like 4 or 5 years. Let the housing market do what it does, you know, and I don't know how long they could hold on to a property, but let's just say you're a builder. The average home in America right now is $400,000. Pulte, I'm willing to bet that their average home, don't quote me on this, I'm willing to bet that their average home is probably around $500,000 or more per house on average. Pulte. Assuming that is correct, and it may or may not be, but assuming it's correct, I'm more or less pulling out $500,000 a year. Excuse me, I'm more or less calling out $500,000 for a home because it's an easy round number. So let's just say a builder, doesn't have to be Pulte, could be KB Homes, could be Ryland, could be Toll Brothers, whatever the case is. They build a house that they intend to sell for $500,000. You think they have $500,000 in this house? Of course not. They might have, I don't know, $350,000 in the house. Maybe. I don't know exactly. Every house is going to be different. Some of these houses, you want to talk about gas prices gouging? Some of these home builders are gouging people. You might build a house for I literally watched a home go up for sale in my area last year. Builder put it on the market for $650,000. And then within 4 days, they increased the price to like $740,000. So they almost went up by like $100,000, more than likely because they realized, oh wow, we underpriced. So builders, they're making bank. They're making bank. So let's just say a builder has a $500,000 retail house that could retail and sell for $500,000. So you got a $500,000 piece of real estate that someone would gladly pay for with more competitive interest rates, but for a number of different circumstances, maybe they no longer qualify or they don't want to pay that much. Maybe they could pay for it, but they're like, you know what? Interest rates used to be 3%. I'm not paying 5.5%. I'm not paying 6% for interest. So the builder could say, hey, you know what? I'm not willing to lower the price enough to make this property become more attractive again with these higher interest rates. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna rent this property out. So they've got a $300,000 property, or they've got a $500,000 property that they have $300,000 in. You telling me you can't cash flow on a monthly basis renting this $500,000 property to a family of 4 or however many people in the family, and you only have $300,000 in it? I'm willing to bet a builder might have, let's just say, I don't know, $2,200 mortgage payment on a $300,000 house, maybe $2,300, $2,400, depends on the taxes and the interest rate, number of different variables. Let's just call it $2,300. A $500,000 house for rent will probably rent for, in most areas, at least $3,500 a month. At least. So let's just say the builder has a neighborhood that they built, 50 houses in the neighborhood. Let's just say, a smart builder, he's got 50 houses in the neighborhood. Some of these neighborhoods have a couple hundred houses in them, but just 50. They could make $50,000 a month in positive cash flow just holding on to the house, never selling it, renting it to some of the highest qualified buyers on the market. They could rent it to people who plan to buy a house, but then interest rates went up. So now they've got this $100,000, $200,000, whatever it is, sitting in their bank account that they would have used for a down payment. You can have those people rent your property. You can have them rent the property. So now you got some of the highest qualified renters in your property. Meanwhile, as a builder, you're taking a bit of a gamble because, you still got a lot of money tied up in the property, but they're paying your mortgages down. So you're making $50,000 a month off these houses. The renters are paying down the balances on the mortgages. You owe less and less every single month as a builder. and you have the highest qualified renters possible in them. Maybe you wait a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. I don't know. Maybe interest rates go back down. Maybe real estate prices just stay where they're at, if not continue to go up, because as inflation reduces, that doesn't mean that prices go back. That just means that the increase and rate of increase gets reduced. So instead of prices, let's just say CPI right now is 9.1%. That means that the rate of increase in prices is rising at about 9% a year. Well, let's just say Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve surprises everyone. They get interest rates down to, they get inflation rates down to say 2%. Good luck with that, right? Without crashing the economy and having a massive, economic correction, layoffs by the boatload. But let's just, hear me out for a second. Let's just pretend that they bring inflation down to 2%. That means that things are still getting more and more expensive by 2% a year. So that rate of increase is still increasing. The rate of increase is decreased, but prices are still increasing. It's just that the rate of the increase is slower. So let's just say housing appreciation slows down. 5 years from now, that house might be worth $540. I don't know, $550. And if builders stop building, more renters hitting the market, the demand for rent and rental properties continues to go up. Who knows where we'll be? Who knows where we'll be? And if you're a seller on this market, like, not a lot of people are talking about the sellers. A lot of these sellers, potential sellers, have mortgage rates of 3%, 4%. Does a seller who doesn't have to sell really want to sell their property, knowing that they're going to have to buy a new house, a new piece of real estate at potentially 6% interest, when they have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage locked in at, say, 3%, 4%? They're going to really think about, do I really need to move? Maybe I don't move. Maybe I just stay right where I'm at. So fewer and fewer houses hit the market. You never know. But it's all about preparation and being aware of the different possibilities that could ultimately unfold. Economic preparation, guys. Economic preparation. I got a lot more information I want to share with you guys. We've got some food supply issues that, let's just say, a very, very well-known farmer has warned us about just recently. I'm going to share that with you guys shortly, but it won't be in this video. But new food supply warnings coming out, and if this isn't intentional, I don't know what is. Anyway, preppers, you guys be safe. Drop me some comments down below. If you made it this far in the video, drop a like for the video. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.